Hey, good morning or good evening, everyone, wherever you're listening from. This is Kalu Aja, and welcome to the Money Spaces with me. On this spaces, we talk money, finance, personal finance. How does it affect you on a personal level? That's what we do here every Saturday, 7 p.m. West African time. So, guys, we've got a great topic today. This is personally just rewarding for me, and I'm so happy that this is happening, right? So, I'm talking about the National Pension Commission of Nigeria. They just released a press release saying that the guidelines towards how contributors can access their retirement savings account balances to use as an equity contribution towards a residential mortgage, right? They just released those guidelines, or they released that they're going to release guidelines. And it is just simply, I am simply so happy about this, right? So let me give you guys background and why this is a big deal. And no matter what you want to say, this is the biggest news to come out of Nigeria, I would say, in about 20 years. This is a big deal, guys. Big deal. Let me give you guys background. So before 2004, Nigeria essentially had pension liabilities, which meant if you work for the government and you left the government was supposed to pay you a pension, but there was no money. Those pension liabilities back in before 2004 were give or take about 2.5 trillion. Back then, it was about 25% of our GDP back then. Right now, Nigeria moved from that system that we used to call the defined benefit pension scheme. We move now to what's called the defined contribution scheme. So what it means is that this is fully funded. Yeah. So when I mean fully funded, that means as you are employed, your employer, your employer makes a contribution towards your pension. So you're not waiting till you retire to get a pension. You are being funded every month. That money goes to an account managed by a private sector operator called a pension fund administrator. The pension fund administrator invests those monthly contributions for you. When you retire, the money is already there for you. It's secured by biometrics. It's in your personal name, i.e., in your own personal name. So when you are working, you are contributing, your contributions are growing tax deferred. So the government doesn't tax the growth, right? It can grow and compound. It's compounded returns. When you then retire, the money is right there. You apply to the private sector PFA, they pay you, end of story. We moved from 2.5 trillion deficit. Right now, I believe we're about 14 trillion naira in assets managed by the pension fund administrators, and the entire scheme that includes existing scheme, or we also call closed pension schemes, right? We're about 14 trillion. This is massive. This is one policy. This was done by the Obasanjo administration. This is one thing that has been a complete and total success. This movement of the pensions from the defined benefit to defined contributory. To be clear, guys, we are not talking about pensions, the one in the federal service. No, this is the brand new one that you have, the RSA. We still have quote unquote pensions. So if you had 3 years to retire, you didn't join this new scheme. We're not talking about the one with minor. This is the brand new one with the PFAs. That's what we're talking about. Now, when you retire, the practice has been that you have all that money there. You can take 50% lump sum cash immediately. And then you can take the other portion either as a voluntary contribute, i.e. as a program withdrawal, right? Which means the PFA will pay you every month the balance of that 50% over your life, right? Or you go buy an annuity from an insurance company. We've always had the problem where people are contributing, or they leave and they've retired and they want to use that money to do something whilst they were still contributing. For instance, to buy a house. It wasn't possible. Lots of things had to be done before we get you from your account to buying a house. And this has taken years to do, guys. I can't tell you the background effort that has done. Let me just do a few call out just to commend people. ASO Savings, a long time ago, the MD, Hassan Katsina, Hassan Usman, he brought everyone, the PFAs, the PenCom, the SSEC, Central Bank, everyone together, and we had a conference. How can we make this happen? We sat, I think it was a 3-day conference. We took a communique to PenCom. PenCom looked at it. They were receptive. They've been working towards this. The Pension Reform Act has been amended, and finally we have this here. So it's been a team effort from the past DG of PenCom, Chinelo, to this current DG. They've done an outstanding job, and I just want to say thank you and well done to all of them. So that's the background to the entire scheme. Let's go into the exact scheme, right? I want to let people speak and ask questions. Let me just give you guys what's going to happen, and I'm going to break it down into two. We're going to first of all talk about the individual contributor, what this means for you and what you should do, right? Then we're going to talk about the developers. If you're a developer, what does this mean for you? This act really is for developers. It's really targeted at you guys. So let's go first of all now into the individual. What this act is saying, or what this guideline is saying, is that you can use 25%, right, of the total balance in your retirement savings account. That's the first thing you can use. 25% of whatever balance that you have. This includes your employer, your employee, right? The 18% statutory. It also includes any contributions that you make voluntarily. So if you've been saving into your RSA, that's total balance. You can take 25%. That's what we're talking about now. Now, who is eligible? First of all, you've got to be an RSA holder. So you've got to have an RSA. So retirement savings account, you've got to have an RSA. If you opened your RSA 3 years, i.e., this is 2022, so 21, 2019. If you opened your RSA 2019, you might not be eligible. You've got to be in the scheme for at least 3 years to be eligible for this. So you've got to be in the scheme at least 3 years to be eligible for this. Also, if you do this micro pension scheme, you are eligible, provided you have made a contribution for 5 years before you did the application. So your application date is the cutoff date, and you just go back. If you're micro pensions, you go back 5 years. If you're like the employer pension, so you're paying through your employer, you go back 3 years, right? So you first of all have got to have the RSA. The RSA has got to be at least 4 years or 3 years plus 1 day. If you're doing the micro pension, it's got to be at least 5 years plus 1 day, right? So that's the first qualifying. So you're going to use 25% of whatever you have in that RSA. What if you are married? If you are married, then you and your partner can do a joint application, which means both of you can combine your retirement savings account and then do an application together if you are married. So great news there for guys that can combine. It just says married couples. I don't say if you're a partner. It just says married couples. Of course, subject to you satisfying those eligibility criteria I just read out for you there. So when you get, first of all, you get how much you can apply for. If you're applying for yourself, it's going to be your 25% of your contributions, your employer, and of course, your additional voluntary contributions. Then if you're doing together, it's going to be you and your partner together. You can then get an offer letter from the property owner that is verified by the mortgage lender. So on your part, get your RSA number ready, then go get an offer letter for the property signed by the property owner and verified by the mortgage lender. So what are they doing here, right? Let's talk about how houses are built. I've got Abdul Rahman here, Mr. Maki from Modern Shelter. I'm going to bring him up to speak. I've also got Tunji from Tunji's doing micro pension from Aquaba. He's also going to come in and speak, just to give us the in-depth, right? But let's assume Modern Shelter was building you a home. Right now, he would want a deposit. We interviewed him, I think it was last week, and he was talking about, listen, if you come to me, you're going to do a deposit. He has to go to the bank to get the full cost of the home because he doesn't wait for your deposit. You might not pay or everyone doesn't pay. He has unequal cash flows. Right now, all he has to do is to say, if you have an RSA and my minimum deposit is 10 million naira. Go get a verified RSA that says you can contribute 10 million naira from your RSA. Because it's coming from the RSA, he's locked it in. So he gets his 10% in there. That's what he has to do. So he's going to give you an offer letter. If you show him that you prove that you have that RSA with that balance, either yourself or your partner, that can make up the deposit. Remember, this is 25% towards equity contribution. It could be a down, it could be to complete the house, but it's simply an equity contribution for residential. That's the key thing there. This is only for residential as I'm reading it. So for the RSA holder, that's what you have to do. Go and calculate the house that you want to buy and ask yourself, do you have 25%? The guideline is saying, what I'm reading here is saying that if you don't have 25%, you can do a makeup. It's saying that if the maximum amount to be withdrawn is not up to the value of the equity contribution required by the mortgage lender, then the balance can be made up by contingency portion of their voluntary contribution, which means if the house is 10 million, you need 25%. If you don't have up to that already saved in your RSA, you could do an additional contingency deposit into your RSA, and then you can use that to then pay either a down or to complete a payment. But look at the key thing here for us as we're talking of financial management. Right now, Nigeria has got 10 to 20% inflation. When we spoke about inflation some time ago, I told you guys the way you avoid inflation is that you move away from cash into an asset. Right now, you guys have got RSAs, right? And your RSAs are quote unquote denominated in Naira, and Naira is 20% inflation. This is a great way for you to transit that 20% cash to a physical asset. So once you do a down pay on that physical asset, then you are in. That house is not going to be depreciated because the value of the house, all things being equal now, guys, all things being equal, should keep pace at least somewhat with inflation. We're not guaranteeing, but should keep pace. If it doesn't, at least you have 25% down on a house. You're not holding Naira, which is a currency that is going to depreciate by 20% on an annual basis if that rate continues. So on a planning part of the equation, you as an RSA holder, this is perfect for you. You go away from renting, you go away from holding cash into building equity. When you own the house, the equity can be yours if you complete the payment. So I think I've covered enough for the individuals before we take questions. Let's talk about the developers. And I really think this act is really targeted at developers. Like I said, when we spoke to the CEO of Modern Shelter, he was saying, listen, the model has always been get a down payment. But right now, we're going to the banks because we want to lock in certainty. They want to be certain about how much they can get so they can build and deliver and move on. With this now, if you are a developer in a place like Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, anywhere that you have younger people, why younger people? Because they have the RSA balance and the number of years to contribute. So you want to target younger people that have an RSA balance that is minimum, I would say go for 30% of the down of the house. So if you are building a house for 10 million, you want to target a young person that can have an RSA balance of about 3 million. That's what you want to target. You then have to make sure you are qualified. I'm talking to the developers now, that you are qualified and you are current with PenCom. Because PenCom will only publish your name as a list of approved developers if you have a certificate of compliance with PenCom. How do you get a certificate of compliance with PenCom? Your own staff in the developer, you guys have got to be registered with PenCom. This means if you are doing business, right, your employees all have to have retirement savings account. PenCom will not let you off the hook. If your company was started in 2010 and you have not contributed, you have to contribute from today. Then you have to do a makeup from when your employees were enrolled back to that 2010. because the law says you owe your employees that contribution. So to the developers, you have a company, you have employees. PenCom is going to ask you, number one, what is the list of the employees in your organization? Number two, what is the monthly pension contribution that you have contributed? If you are up to date, you are fine. If you are not up to date, and up to date means the employer paid 10% of its basic housing and transport, and you, the employer, paid 8% of its basic housing and transport. You, the employer, paid 10% of the basic housing and transport. Together, 18% of the basic housing and transport. The employer can choose to pay the entire 18, no problem. But whatever date you have, PenCom is going to make you go back and ensure you have contributed from the day you employ that person up to date, because the law was passed in 2004, 2005, amended in 2014, right? So if you have less than 3 staff, I think it's from July 2014, because that's when that micro pension was passed. July 2014 is when they will start to count for you. So if you have just 2 people in your organization, you start from 2014. If you have more than 5 people in your organization, then you've got to go back. PenCom is going to ask you that. When you are compliant with PenCom, that's when you can start to market people for this, because PenCom is going to release a list of compliant the mortgage bankers, developers on their website, and people are always going to go to the guys that are approved. So I would say today, don't delay. On Monday, call your PFA and ask them, how can I get compliant? They will tell you. Get yourself compliant with PenCom. Number 2, make sure organizationally you are set up. This is still the PenCom guidelines. From experience, there'll be lots of additions to these guidelines. Let me just tell you what's going to happen as well. I would suggest you go talk to a custodial bank or a trustee bank, so that way you separate the funds you are going to collect for this PenCom guidelines from your normal funds, which means you can go to a trustee bank and say, anyone that is going to pay the 25%, the money will go from their RSA to that trustee bank. And that trustee bank will then hold it there, and then you tell folks, listen, you're not paying to my operations, you are paying the 25% to that trustee bank, and that trustee bank will send the money to me. I'm pretty sure you will see that guideline will come in soon. It's not here yet. I'm pretty sure it will be there. Get this thing set up. Now, for the developer, what you have is that you have a 25% guaranteed payment, because the money is already there. There is no, let's go get the money. The money is already there from PenCom. All that PenCom is going to guide you out is going to say, this is how the money would go from the RSAs to your account. Probably PenCom will say, where's your bank account, or bring this or bring that. Get your tax clearance, get your pension clearance, get a trustee bank, get ahead of the game, get it ready. Identify the homes you want to sell to the developers. I would say this, right? Do a separate contract per home. So deed of assignment, separate SPV to the guy that is buying. So that person buys, the couple buying from their RSA buys directly to that SPV that owns that deed of assignment. Why are you doing this way? So that you can do a rent to own. If the guy can pay 25% down for the house, then lock him in on the same plan and say, okay, every month paid rent, but that rent is equity and interest. He pays the equity, both of them come to you, he's paying down what he owns on that home. Many Nigerians will not have the cash 100%, even after the 25%, but you can lock them in on the rent to own, where they are paying you over, say, 10, 15 years, and then you are then giving that home to them. The good thing, developer, is that you don't have to hold that house. Once you can have a contract that has this domiciliation of payment, you can sell it to someone. They will buy it from you. I think we'll have to do something for developers specially, just to explain this. I don't keep doing the finance stuff, but we'll do something special for developers to walk you guys through how you can monetize those receivables. But guys, that's essentially is what it's all about. The jobs this will create are immense. Valuers, bankers, real estate developers. It is going to create a brand new industry around just this act. In 10 years from now, this is going to be really the only way you can buy a house. They're going to ask you, do you have a contribution? Even if it's not pension, is it NH, Nigerian Housing Fund, or is it this, or is it that? And they're going to link it to this. And they're also going to say, even if you retire, that 50% that PenCom is going to give you when you retire, can you also bring it into this SPV thing I've just talked about? That's how you want to do it, guys. You want to make sure you create it now so it's easier for you to get funds throughout the life of that house as long as it's not bought. Okay, guys, I want to stop here. I've got Tunji, I've got Mr. Madi. Tunji is from Akwaba. Tunji, let me start with you. I know you guys are in the micro pension space. How is this going to impact you? This just means that literally people have to open accounts for micro pension to get access to this mortgage scheme. So Tunji, I know if you can unmute and just walk us through how this impacts you. I've also got, Tunji, go for it.
Good evening, everyone. I know that it might not be clear to a lot of people, but what the Pension Commission has done is automatically unlocked 25% of the current retirement savings in the economy right now. And if you do a rough math, we have about 11 trillion. And if you just do a rough math of that, we're talking about 2.5 trillion that is available for the real estate industry. Now, does it stop at just real estate? No, there will be brokers. There will be people who will do the pre-qualifications, the pre-assessments. There will be conversations for open banking. I mean, this is huge for the economy.
Huge.
For people like us who know the history of this, I would say that this is the beginning of many. This is the beginning of many steps. There's been a lot of dialogue with the regulator from the back end. There will be a place down the future where your RSA will also be able to stand in good stead for you if you're trying to get a loan. So this is the beginning of it. But I will say this, one of the things that has been critical to my mind ever since we started our bar with micro pensions is one thing I saw with Nigerians was a strong disconnect between their RSA and their lives. So everybody just sees their retirement savings as this thing that they just put somewhere that they can't get access to. And you tend to see it a lot of times on Twitter where people say, I just opened my RSA account and hey God, see all the money there that Sapa is doing me. So this allows you to see that your RSA affects you not only in the future, but it can affect you today. And it can also, as you've seen, it can now provide 25% equity contribution towards your mortgage. Now, for people who are able to, thinking about, they are trying to set up a situation where they can buy a home, for instance. You want to start out by doing savings into your micro pensions account, and I'll explain why this is critical and is very important. It's the situation where think about it this way: you save 1 naira. If you were going to save it in your bank account and save it up to 25% of equity contribution, it's still going to be same 25 naira. But you save it into your RSA, right? And ultimately, what it does is two things. It gives you the interest that will be accruing on your pension savings. 2, it gives you the multiplier effect that your pension savings is growing and bulging in itself. But you can then use the pension savings for multiple test cases. I don't want to start speaking about how this is going to affect the pension funds because for most people outside, they see it as a withdrawal, but from the pension funds, this even opens a different revenue stream for them. Because if I, as a pension fund, I already had an asset management team in my organization, I would also be thinking about having that asset management team being the ones to oversee the places that we would most likely be keen to give money to. So if you building companies that are pre-qualified, we will want to be able to, see how we can make those things easier. But I say again, if you do not have a micro pensions account, this is the time you want to start having it. Because one, you start saving for your future. Two, you can use it to get a 25% of your down payment for your mortgage, which is really the down payment most mortgage houses ask for anyways. Three, in the future, we're talking about possible using it as equity contribution for leases, loans, and even also a test case where it can be invested into your business. So there are multiplier effects. Do not look at it from the way you hear about it on Twitter. There's huge things coming, but this is the first of many, and you can't imagine the excitement for my team to have seen that thing finally come out. The guidelines, it's been a long time coming, and like Kalu said, this guidelines is not the end. This was not the first draft. I think this is probably the fourth draft or so. And I doubt that this is going to be the final draft. So we between now and when it eventually gets passed, just know that there's a lot more coming.
Well said, Tunji. Tunji, what's the name of your firm again? Just go ahead and do that plug real quick.
And the name of our business is Our Bar. It's Pidgin English for Our Money, Our Bar. Bar as BAH, so AWABAH. So you can check us out on Twitter, Our Bar Nigeria, on Instagram, LinkedIn, everywhere, Our Bar Nigeria.
And Tunji, if you do send a tweet, I'll tweet it out as well and all that. I mean, because I'm bringing Tunji in here because Tunji started this when there was no 25% for mortgage on the streets, getting people to talk about pensions. You imagine telling a young person in Nigeria about pensions. It's really a misconnect in terms of investing. No one wants to do pensions. We're talking crypto and we're doing stocks. Tunji's talking pensions. So, I mean, just big props to folks that are going out there to do the hard work. Guys, see, you know me on Twitter. I don't know if you can hear the excitement in my voice. This is something I know intricately. And when this thing starts to roll out and you see the effect of this in the economy, you guys will be blown away. This is a big effing deal. Let no one tell you anything else. Forget anything you're hearing. This is a big deal. This is going to, if it is properly done, this is going to add 25 or 50% to GDP. If properly done, like Tunji has said, we've unlocked, give or take, 2.5 trillion. Just think about it. 2.5 trillion is just going to flow from, say, bonds to properties. What is a property? What is a house? If you see a house, you're seeing employment. You have to hire people to build a house, paint it, carpenters. You have to go get nails. You have to get paint. You have to go get people that will cook food for the workers. A house is about 10 people employed. What about the road to the house? What about the bankers that will be employed? What about the valuers, the estate surveyors? What about even the guys selling paper that they used to write even the contracts on? Look at the multiplier of this. The money is there. There's no government writing budget to do this. There's no budget allocation for this. If you are a young person, 30 years old, you are married, you have 2.5 in your account, your wife has 2 million in your account, what this law is saying is that you guys have 5 million. That you can take 25% of that 5 million and go to a developer and say, I want to buy this house. It didn't say land here. It's saying residential. That's what it's in there, residential mortgage. It's even very, very vague. Residential mortgage. Does it mean I can buy a land? I'm not sure. You can put a down payment. And if you can structure with that same developer and say, every month I get paid 100,000. My wife gets paid 100,000. We're going to give you 25% of our paycheck every month as well. To a mortgage, we're going to use that 25%, pay a mortgage, and then we're going to pay down this loan. So give us the house. We will pay this loan for the next 20, 30 years. And that house is our own. The developer walks away. Think about it. I didn't have it when I was 30 years old. How many folks on this Twitter handle had this kind of opportunity when they were 30 years old? How many? But now we have it. This is a big deal, guys, and we have got to make sure you take advantage of it. Madi, hi. Again, my good friend, Abdul Malik Madi. I had you here last week, right? and we're talking about this, and just you are giving us how you build a house and how you finance that house. How does this, are you thinking about this? How is it going to change your, last week you said you get the money from the banks. What are you going to do differently? Is this a big deal for you as well?
Yes, good evening. I told you last week also that we have been waiting for this for over 2 years, and engaging with some PFAs, because the last speaker already pointed out, this is like the fourth draft. It has been in the works for so long. So it's something that we have been anticipating. It will change the business in 2 ways. For the clients, it means that clients have more equity, more down payment.
That is true, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're back on now. Go ahead. I can hear you. Go ahead.
To put for the equity, right?
Oh man, we're losing you, Abdul Malik, and I really want you to hear what you want. I heard you say that clients now have more equity to put down. I really want you to expand on that thought. I'm not hearing you right now.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Am I back?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so I'm saying that clients have more purchasing power because barrier to entry has always been one of the key barrier to entries is always equity contribution. The bank is asking for equity contribution towards mortgages. Even NHF, I think recently, about 2 years ago, they reduced the equity contribution from 30% to 10%. But you still find out that people don't have savings. So, for example, you're taking the 15 million NHF loan, you need about 4.5 million. You need about 4.5 million. Not a lot of people have 4.5 million just kept aside. So, because they need to pay their current rent, they need to pay their school fees and other overheads. So now what this does is that 4.5 or whatever equity they need to buy a house is already there. They just go in and take it from their RSA account. Of course, and while we are very excited, we must temper this excitement with a dose of reality. Because you see, your RSA account is not a lot. Then really 25% of 5 million, for example, is really not a lot. So it will not really put a lot of dent on the purchase price of a house because that one is a matter of macroeconomics. Prices of building materials and all those things are high, so it's very difficult to find affordable housing. So, but still, there are still houses of 15 million, 18 million out there. Where you may not want to live there as a young person or even as an older person, you can still invest. Property is property. So don't say that the house is in Karu, for example. I can't live in Karu. So, but your RSA, what your RSA can buy, the 25% plus the NHF loan, is just a house of 18 million. Please, by all means, look for a house of 18 million and buy it. Sure. Because like you rightly pointed out, that 25% is just sitting down and you're losing value, and you're going to get the 15 million from NHF at also 6%. Very, very discounted, and the value of the property is going to be going up. In the next 10 years, it will be 36, 40 million, and you still have an asset. So there are two issues also that I think we need to speak to in terms of the guidelines. I know that they will do revised guidelines.
Yes,
because, for example, one of the issues is it is only for mortgage loans. So if, assuming now, I want to buy a house of 100 million and I have 75 million, right? And in my RSA account, maybe I work in CBN or NDIC and I have 100 million in my RSA account, which means I can get 25 million. There should be a situation whereby I bring 75 million, pay the developer, bring the offer letter showing a balance of 25 million, and I should be able to access my money. Because at the end of the day, it's my money, and I want to use it to buy a house. Why must I take a mortgage if I have the balance, for example, right? So right now, it is strictly just mortgages, so you cannot do anything outside mortgages. Even if you have your savings, you and your wife have saved 50 million, you only need a balance of 25 million, which you can get 12.5 from your RSA. If it's not a mortgage, you cannot access it. So you're excluding people that don't want to take mortgages. Maybe they don't want loans. Maybe they don't want interest-bearing loans. Because, okay, again, the loans, the mortgages we're talking about, there are two types. There's NHF, which is National Housing Fund, which if you're a contributor, hopefully most organizations that do pension funds, a lot of them also don't do NHF. So you also need to advise organizations to also register their staff on NHF, because NHF loans are also at 6% subsidized. And most people, 90% of people, are still going to be within that 20 million and below houses, right? No matter whether they give them the 25% or they do joint, it's still going to be, because at the end of the day, it's still tied to your salary. So if a lot of people don't earn up a lot of money, then the RSA 25% is not really that much. But at least, even if it is 1 million that I'm going to give you, it's still something. It reduces the pressure on the equity contribution. The other one is that if I have my house, assuming I've been working, for example, for maybe close to 20 years, I've bought my house, I've done the mortgage is running, right? I should be able to come and say, look, I have the mortgage, and this is the balance of the mortgage. Can you guys give me this 25%? Let me go and reduce my mortgage with the bank, right? This does not clearly speak to that. There's a gray area there. It needs to be clear that people that are currently running a mortgage can actually take 25% of their RSA and go and reduce their principal.
I mean, Madi, great point. I think I'm not speaking for PenCom,
but so that they are monthly payments. Yeah, they need to be able to go to PenCom or their RSA and say, give me 25%, let me go and reduce my loan. Right? So right now, they're excluded. So also there are people that don't have loan. They have their houses, they finish paying the loan, right? They're living in their house. But they can also go and say, I want to do an equity release. This is my house, I bought it, this is the current valuation. Please give me 25% of this, and see the papers, take the papers if you want. But the house is there, is my own, is in my name, but I need money. So, and can I take 25% of my RSA? Because it's not fair for you, Kalu, to go and collect 25%. Me, your colleague, that maybe I suffered and bought the house. I'm running the loans and I'm not able to enjoy that 25% suffer.
That's true.
And even, or maybe I finish building the house. I'm living there, but I don't have. I say this, I've gone here. I should be able to, retroactively go back and say, okay, it's equity release, but we don't do it. I know that I have big bank like PHP a while back tried to do a product like that. If you have the house, you can come and do an equity release on that. And I know that they do that a lot abroad. So I think maybe even in PenCom, I know our clients in PenCom, even their staff are currently running mortgages, right? And they should be 25% reduced.
Madi, I think you're making fantastic points from a professional on the field. Fantastic. I think I'm not speaking for PenCom. I think PenCom has done the easiest one first. The easiest one to do first is the mortgage, because they are quote unquote like a bank, because the banks are able to use this 25% as your loan equity. So if you walk into a bank today and you want to take a loan, the bank will ask you for down payment. So I think PenCom is saying the easiest way to say, okay, use your RSA as a down payment from a bank. Let's start with this one first. Then we can then go along the route. I know eventually, because I have an idea of what they're thinking about, I know eventually they will do the developers can create an SPV or a REIT, and they will link that REIT to the RSA. That will come, but that will take, we have to first of all see this. And also the equity release you are talking about. If the house is existing and I have a mortgage, can I take 25% and pay down my principal? That is to me on that easy, low-hanging fruit they can say, because you have the mortgage paper, you have your payments already. So you can go to the bank and say, I am paying you, I want to take 25% from my account and pay to principal only to reduce the mortgage. I think they will all come. Really, I think this is the easiest one that PenCom can do. That's why I think they're starting with it first. What's your take on that?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's like I said, I mean, it's an excellent first step. Really, they've done well, and like you said, and the last speaker said, it's just saying that all that trillions we're talking about, 25% is not available for real estate. It's now left for us as developers to one, educate our clients, and also establish very good customer care processes whereby a client can call me today and say, I want to buy a house. And I'll ask him, how much is your RSA balance? Look at the kind of products that we have, and then match the product with what he has, and then match him with either an NHF loan or a commercial mortgage. Because there are two mortgages or a blend of two. You can take the NHF and still take the commercial mortgage, because depending on the price of the house that you're going to buy. So there needs to be people selling houses, agents and developers cannot just be your normal run-of-the-mill people that go and show you property.
Yes.
They need to be educated, they need to be qualified, they need to know numbers, and they need to be able to advise clients. So, for example, in Modern Shelter right now, we're working on, when we're discussing this morning, I told you that I didn't know when we were having this space, that we're already working on doing a space and IG Live, all those things, to educate clients that, look, this is what this means, and then this is what this, as it relates to you. And then as it relates to the products that we have, these are the possibilities, and then begin to look at pool of people, we already have these clients, we're already discussing with organizations. So we go to these organizations and say, okay, you know what, your people that are earning this to this is potentially what they have. And these are the products that get. And if we see that, the products that are in the market right now don't fit what the customers want, then it is now still our job to devise new products, new houses, that people can actually afford, because the money is there. So it's either you take it or you leave it. So if the people can only afford a house of 15 million, then it is left for you as a developer to come up with a house of 15 million. Because you know that when you do that, within 3, 4, 6 months max, that money is
in your hand. That is true. That is true.
It might not be a fantastic amount, but if it is 10% you're making, it's very, very decent, especially when you get the numbers. When you get a lot of customers through the door. So it's a fantastic period. It is people that are, ready to actually cash in on this opportunity that will be smiling to the bank. I also see the PFAs also, because the guidelines now does not also stop the PFAs from, I don't know, they have their separate guidelines, obviously. It stops them from doing certain types of businesses. But most of them have investment companies on the side. And those investment companies can actually work with us. We've been talking to, like I said, some people for the past 2 years saying that, look, when this thing comes, you guys are going to lose about 125 billion. So they don't want to lose that. They want to see how they can link us up with their existing clients and then maybe earn a commission or something, from that 125 billion. If not, it's just walking out of the door and it's gone forever. And then it's going to continuously be going and going and going. So they want to see a situation where they can, working with their investment companies who are allowed to carry on such businesses, to see how that money still remains within their universe, where they still make some revenue, no matter what, at all, on that transaction.
I hear you.
So there are many ways, we have to be very agile. We need to be financially creative. A lot of financial engineering needs to go into this, and that's why we're very excited about it.
Very, very great job. Tunji, did you want to add anything else to the conversation?
Yes, I wanted to, and it's a lot around the conversations that have already been said around one, the amount of capital that is being launched into the economy, to the kind of houses that will be available, and all of that. So here's the thing, and if you've ever witnessed what happens in the American real estate market, and how the real estate market is one major capital driver for the US economy, then you understand where this is going to. This, like I said earlier, this is the beginning. Now, one of the things, and of course, I would really, really like to have a conversation with the other speaker, and this is my reason why. we have already started, having pre-work around creating several kinds of steps, because this is the beginning. PenCom has a guidelines for things that pension funds can invest into, right?
Yes.
What this means is that if PenCom agrees that real estate is a viable investment, at least for Nigerians, by opening up this 25%, that means that there is also a place for investment into real estate, right? And if the pension funds can also put in money into either through a paper or something like that as the beginning, we're unlocking multiple levels of capital in this conversation. Now, for me, I think one of the biggest places we can do is, like the other speaker spoke about, the kinds of houses and what those kind of houses pertain for each individual. But the fantastic thing about it, and I'm praying to God that the PFAs see the lights with this, and I know that they are very smart people, so they will see it also. It is that this has opened up. They basically hold the knife and the yam, as our former president would say. They basically hold everything. They hold the capacity to invest, to multiply real estate as a viable investment portal for them right now. Two, because they now have to give 25% as equity contribution to their customers to go and buy houses, it now makes sense for them to also invest in real estate and be ahead of the curve, so that, you create the house, they buy the house from you, the money still stays in the house. You have the broker who brokers the deal. The house always wins. So for me, for one of the things we've already started doing, we're already speaking about that, is to already create pre-qualification for customers, not just based on their RSA, but their entire financial history. Open banking is a thing in Nigeria right now, so we can be able to do that. So customers can be able to know the kind of houses that they even can qualify for before they even start the entire process. So speaking to real estate companies also who are in the mix, so that we can all form like a tripartite. Everybody wins in this entire equation. So the kind of houses that you have, you've given us, we know. So we know that, this customer has come in, and then this customer can only get this kind of a house, and then we're able to pre-qualify the customer for that kind of a property from the beginning, before they even start the entire process. And then you can then give them additional information of, you don't have enough for this, but you can get that NHS loan, and this is what it does, and this is what it can do. I'm saying that in 5 years from now, we'll be talking about this entire system and be wondering why we were even skeptical at the beginning. As in, we will be confused about the amount of money and the amount that this has done to the economy. So really, I think let's not be worried about how little or how big it is. We will make it what it is. We can make this, as in, if all the PFAs do not go in the right direction, this will just be another policy. But if we can all put our thinking caps, and I'm sure that I've seen excitement in the pension industry, if we can all put our thinking caps, this itself can be the roadmap to something great. I know, because I sat in a particular pre-meeting to create one of these guidelines about pension funds also investing in startups through VC channels. These are the things we are trying to create as a whole, as a holistic body. So for me, this is the beginning of many, many things. So what it is how creative can we get? If we make it what a $1 million industry, it's going to be a $1 million industry. If we make it $100 billion industry, that is what it's going to be. So it's as far as our eyes can see that we're going to make from this entire policy that we've just created.
Yeah, well said, Tunji. I think, well said. This is just the very, very beginning. I don't see a bad side of this law. This is one law where you can look at, or one guideline you can look at, and you cannot find any bad side. Developers, contributors, banks, the economy, politics, young people getting a job, young people getting a home. You really, even in security, you start to build homes, people have a sense of belonging. Everything is covered. That's why Americans, their entire economy revolves around home ownership. You get a mortgage, you calm down. You have to go get a job. You have to go pay that mortgage. You move state to state. Everything revolves around mortgages. So this is a very, very Wonderful stuff. Guys, we've been speaking for 1 hour. Let me just reset the room. The National Pension Commission has just announced a press release that says guidelines to enable accessing retirement savings accounts balances for payment of equity contributions for residential mortgages. That is going to be out pretty soon. In essence, if you have 25% of your retirement savings account, you can use that towards a mortgage if you have a mortgage lender and all that. It's a first step. We're talking about it. I've got two technical guests here, the CEO of Modern Shelter, and of course, Tunji from Awaba, Makdi and Tunji. So guys, we're going to open it up to the guys that want to speak just to talk. Tunji is here. He's on the side of the micro pension guys. The guys going out to enroll folks into the pension scheme. Remember, the guideline says you have got to have a retirement savings account. And it says you have got to have this account if you are working for an organization and employs more than 5 people, then you have to have it at least for 3 years plus 1 day. If you are working for an organization that has about less than 5 employees, i.e., less than 5 is a small scale, maybe sole proprietor and the rest, you have to have had your RSA for 5 years plus 1 day. So the best time to open an RSA if you don't have one is today. You never know when you will need this, right? So first draft out. So guys, let's take Marana. I have Maranatha, that's Lady Nat. How are you? Go ahead and ask a question.
Hi, good day, everyone. Very interesting conversation. I don't know if the document is publicly available, but when I saw the talk about it, when I saw you post about it, it was something quite exciting because to me, I just want to bring in another perspective. So it's a good thing that, now I know that at least if I have PFA somewhere, I can use it because as a young person, you work and work and work, and there's a contribution that goes in. And I think the only thing, and I think it's Tunji that mentioned it before he started speaking elaborately, that said, young people sit down, they are wondering, I have this amount of money just lying down in my pension account. I don't know what to do with it, or I don't know how to access it right. And for me, I don't know much about pension, but the only thing I know, or that's very commonplace is, if you've left an employer for about 4 months, you haven't gotten new employment, or there's no new pension contributor to your pension, then you can access 25% of that pension amount, right? So that's great that access, that 25% can now even be put into something more tangible. Now, my question is, I will use myself as an example. So I worked for an employer, probably no longer with the employer or no longer even in the country, but I have my pension funds just lying there, right? Every quarter I get my statements from my PFA. I know how much I have. I know how much is in my account because I have access to it and everything. Currently, of course, probably not being in the country and all of that, there's no local employer that is contributing to my pension, right? But that pension is yielding the interest that is supposed to be yielding because every month, like every quarter, like I said, I get the statement. So I know how much interest my money has made and all of that. How is this applicable to me? Like for me and people who are in a position like me who do not have a local contributor that is contributing to the fund on an ongoing basis. But if I wanted to probably maybe access one of the houses, I would be able to, my 25% would be able to pay down, the equity or the 25% equity for that if I could access it.
I think for now, what I'm reading here is that you can do a voluntary contribution even before this guideline. If you want to do a voluntary contribution, you do a schedule, right? Prepare a schedule. Put your name, put your RSA pin there, put your additional voluntary contribution, send your check and the schedule to your PFA. They will process that out for you as an additional voluntary contribution. You can do that even if you're not employed. That is possible. And they're saying here, if you wanted to get the equity contribution required by the mortgage lender, you can do an additional contingency portion contribution as well. So the answer is yes, for now, based on what we're reading. And that's basically been there even before this was out. Go ahead.
I think the RSA account does not expire.
Yes,
so
correct.
You have your money giving interest, whether the contribution has stopped or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can still unlock your funds.
Yeah. So that's the answer right there.
One of the things I feel bad about was I almost had a sense of Maranatha seemed to be apologizing for wanting her money. Did you feel it? Because I felt it too. It almost felt like, this money, will I be able to get it? Maranatha, first of all, it is your money.
No, it's not even that. It's just that, you know what, a very high proportion of young people in Nigeria are don't have any information whatsoever about pensions. Sure. So for me, one question that I always used to ask, because a few months back, like I almost reached out to my PFA to say, you know what, I need my 25%, as you can see, and all of that. But I'm like, okay, what if I take this money now? What do I actually need it for? I really don't actually need the cash, because if I even get it, I will just burn it or whatever and everything. So my question has always been, okay, when I access that 25%, what happens to my remaining 75%, right? Like, that's one question I've always asked. Like, I've asked a few people, like, okay, I access my 25% early, before I'm 50, whatever. What happens to my 75%? Because we know the country, and we know these things, and all the hullabaloo that has gone on with pension funds in Nigeria and PenCom and all of that. So that has always been my question, right? But now that this is a more solid, so it's not like I'm apologetic or I'm, Tunde is just one of those things where the education around pension is very, very limited. I don't know if to say limited, maybe that's not the right word to use, but not a lot of people are informed about it and how it operates and all of that. And when we see our old parents or grandparents struggling to get their pension, it just casts bad blood. It's just like, I beg. I don't want to find myself in that kind of a situation.
You're right. And just to be clear, right, again, at the very top, this contributory pension one is way different, right? Because it's in your name, you got your biometrics, it's in your name, the money is there, it's funded, there's no I promise to pay. It's literally there, so it's yours. So just to make that point to everyone listening. Thank you so much, Maranatha. And if I didn't move
apart from that, also the regulations. I think the regulations around this Obasanjo's pension, this pension act, and all that, such that nobody can just touch the money.
Correct.
It's not like the money.
I remember one.
The problem when we are having is finally we're able to use it for development.
True.
It's just be sitting idle.
Yeah, it's been in bonds and all that.
It's just too strong. You can't just touch it. Your money is there.
You know,
this one is not like the pension of our father.
I want to just say shout out to Fola Adiola, to Chinelo, to Obasanjo. These three people, this is their baby. Obasanjo, Fola Adiola, Chinelo. This is their baby. And I know, so wherever they are, they can take a bow. This is what they've done. Positive. It's there. You can't touch it. You can't steal from this account. Not possible. Thanks so much. So if I do take you off, it's just like an add someone, right, guys? So don't be mad if it's here. So let me get Jay. Jay, are you there?
Hi, I'm here. How are you today?
Very, very well. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I just wanted to encourage young people. I don't know if I can call myself a young person, but I want to encourage young people on the platform to tell them that this is real. Surprisingly, I already bought my house, but I didn't go through this route. I went through a route similar to what the pension has already what this new act now, or what is it, new regulation now is doing. So I just wanted to share my experience briefly, because a lot of people have a lot of questions. I just wanted to share my own experience in the hope that it helps someone out there. When I was ready to buy a house, I've always been the kind of lady who feels like I want to buy my house early. I joined NHF because it was the only body that gives you a single digit interest loan, but I didn't know where to get equity from. But I just kept contributing in faith that someday I'm going to buy a house. So to round up the story, when I was ready, I met my current employer and told my employer I wanted to buy a house and I needed an equity. So they gave me a loan. So because I was looking for the maximum amount from NHF, which is 15 million, I was given a loan of 5 million. And then I added some savings and then created an account with a mortgage bank in Lagos. And then the equity was then complete in order for me to access the 15 million. Now, because I live in Lagos, it now became difficult. Where are you going to find a 15 million naira worth of house? Because to be fair, I didn't have much, I don't have any money beyond that to buy the house. I had about, let's say in total, about 18. If you sum up everything I had from the one NHF would give me, of course, the equity was already fixed in the RSA in my mortgage accounts. I couldn't access it because that equity had to be there. So let's just say I had a few thousands here and there. Then I started looking for house. I searched, and then I found a 2-bedroom by Lakey Gardens. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention the names. I found a 2-bedroom by Lakey Gardens. Back then, when I was ready to buy in 2016, it was 16.5 million. So just 1.5 million higher than the 15 million threshold. So I needed to bring the 1.5 in order to complete that. I saw another 19.5, but it was much further down. So why I'm sharing these experiences, young people on the platform, don't always wait. When I started my NHF, people made fun of me. They say, "Oh, Joy, where are you going to find a $50 million house in Lagos?" Because I'm not a Lagos person. I'm from the eastern side of Nigeria. So I don't know Lagos very well when I moved in. But everyone laughed, "Oh, it's just 50 million, Joy. Where are you going to buy a 50 million naira worth of house?" People just made fun of it. But I just kept contributing with the expectation that something will give. And of course, something gave for me. So when I saw the Lakey Garden houses, they were all off plan. I had seen some of the structures, they already came up, but I wasn't deterred. So
Jay, got a minute left, Jay?
Hello?
You got like a minute left?
Oh, sorry. So just to let people know that, somebody talked about creativity in trying to put things together. I did the same. So if you're a young person here, don't be discouraged. You need to be creative about how to bring your equity. Find the right house. It exists. You don't have to probably buy in the fancy places. I live around Chevron, so it worked out for me. So think about how it works, but it does work. Use that 25 pension and start looking. Do not let this opportunity go. And then I also want to warn employees here. Some employers give you basic salary that is this small, housings this small. So your pension contribution is very little. You work 10, 15 years. You don't even have up to 5 million. That is a wrong strategy. I'm telling you and I'm warning all of you. Watch what goes into your pension housing scheme. If you've already worked up to 5, 7 years and you don't have up to about 15 million in your account, check. Your employer is probably moving all your allowance into other contributory, like a dressing scheme, education scheme, to water down your pension contribution. This is something most people don't know. Lots of people at my age range will tell me that their pension is just 3 million. I'm thinking, how? Okay. How is it 3 million?
All right.
I already have over 10 million, so be careful what's happening there. Wish everybody good luck. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much, Jay. Appreciate that. So, what I hear from Jay is don't wait. Start. Start small, and you never know what's going to happen, right? Let me get Shima. Is that Demakai?
Yes, on the call.
How you doing? Go ahead.
Yes, fine, thank you. Please, I joined late, but I just wanted to know if we are speaking on the basis of the press release or the guideline has been exposed to the public.
The guideline has not been exposed, but we just have background information because some of us were working with PenCom and with other players that have an idea of what's going to be the guidelines. You notice we haven't said anything specific. We're referring only to the press release. Yes.
Okay, because in 2015, after the new legislation was changed in 2014, PenCom came up with draft guidelines. And one of the things they mentioned in the draft guideline was that the withdrawal of 25% for the purpose of residential mortgage will only be for first-time home owners. So it will preclude those who have owned homes before. But I appreciate that you have organized this, but it may now put others who have owned homes before away from trying to make withdrawals towards this venture. That's one thing that I don't know, since you said you've been privy to some of the meetings.
No, I think that we
want to touch on it. And secondly,
okay, go ahead with the second question. Go ahead.
And secondly, the Pension Reform Act restricted investments. That's the point. That's where I joined as you were talking. but you didn't mention that the investment into mortgages will only be for development investments, such as the Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Corporation when they issue bonds.
No,
how is that going to work out? Because it's not going to be a direct interaction between the PFAs and mortgage banks or developers.
I'm not sure where you're getting that from. So what we're saying is this is just a press release. This is just the first step. Madi has already raised the point that this is only mortgages now. This press release is only speaking to mortgages. So you have to have a loan. So this is why we are saying this is the first step of many that we think are going to come. This is the easiest that PenCom can do right now to kickstart this whole process, right? So let's say this starts off and it's only going to be for residential, it's going to be for first-time home buyers, it's going to be all that. That is the first step. Then we start to then take it down the entire tree line of other options. The guidelines for PenCom says the PFAs existing schemes can do direct investments in real estate. They can do that already according to PenCom. There's a guideline out for that. This is speaking only to the fact that if you are a contributor to an RSA and you have a loan through the mortgage lender, you can use 25% towards that. That's all this is speaking of. That nothing else is, we don't have the guidelines out yet. PenCom is just advising that this has been released and we'll get the guidelines pretty soon. So we're just waiting to see the exact step-by-steps. But broadly, that's also what PenCom is advising right now. Does that make sense, sir?
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Fine.
Exactly.
That's fine.
All right. Let me get what's his name here? I am Enuwa. Guys, just keep it for about a minute or two if you don't mind. I am Eni Oluwa. Hi, go ahead, sir.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Kalu. Thank you so much, as usual. 2 minutes is fine. Okay. You know what? I just want to thank your speakers that you brought forward and you. And I also want to sound a caution in a different line. You know, mortgage in the Black community has created some harm as much as good. And I want to focus quickly on the harm.
No, bro. We're talking about. I want you to stay on topic. I want us to stay on topic. So I know. I want us. No. Stay precisely on topic. Precisely on topic. Stay on topic.
Pension fund.
PFA, PenCom, mortgage 25. Stay on point. Thank you, sir.
Yes. So my point is, if you are going to remove your pension fund, like the last speaker said, it is much more important to do your research like Jay did, so that you don't just go and withdraw the pension fund, and at the end of the day, you didn't get what you are looking for. So my point is, kind of do your research first. Okay. Have the knowledge of where you want to buy, how much it is, and everything before going ahead to pull it out.
Okay.
That's basically what I want to speak about. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate you saying that. Let's get David the One. Go ahead, sir. I've got David the One. David the One going once. David the One going twice. Let's go to Fumi. Mr. Fumi, is it Oyole? Fumi Oyelele. Hi, how you doing, sir? Go ahead.
Can you hear me, David? Good evening.
David, I can hear you. Go for it, sir.
Thank you very much. Nice topic that you're discussing.
Thank you, sir.
But I want to find out if I probably have been mentioned earlier, but I joined a bit late. Yeah, so I just want to find out if someone have already assessed the 25% from his pension fund. Can the person still be eligible for this?
Yeah, this is completely different from that one. You can take the 25% and still get this. This is if you have a mortgage, you can use 25% extra to pay down. So this is totally different from if you're not working and you access your 25%. Yes, according to what I'm reading though. Yeah, but the guidelines are not yet out. But from what I'm reading, this is just directly to 25% and all that. Yeah.
Okay, good. I hope that comes to.
Excellent, thank you. So remember, guys, I've got Tunji here, I've got Madi here, we've got a pension contributor aggregator company here, you've got a developer here. So also, if you want to ask those questions around what they abuse as well, they're also here. Let me get Sam JCB. Sammy JCB, how you doing? Go for it.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
How you doing?
Yes, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much. This was really insightful. Thank you so much for the effort. I just have a few questions. If you have a spouse who has a PFA account with a different PFA from yours, right? How would the joint account work? That's number one. Number two would be, can one combine this with a loan from NHF towards getting a home?
I'll let Madi talk about the NHF one, but I think that what I'm reading here is saying that yes, you and your partner can make a joint application. So it says here very clearly, married couples who are RSA holders can make a joint application. So the answer to your first question is yes. I don't know if Madi can take the how NHF and this would work. Yeah?
Yes, the 25% can be used for NHF and for any other commercial mortgage by a licensed mortgage lender, so which are primary mortgage institutions and then commercial banks that have mortgage products. And I think to speak to the first question, so these are the issues that are coming up from a practical perspective. Your wife has a different PFA, you have a different PFA. I think there will be the PenCom is still the clearinghouse, so I guess it should be possible technically. These are the issues that will keep coming up as they're implementing and getting and fine-tuning it, getting it right. But I think it should work technically. It's possible.
Yeah, I don't think it's hard. It's going to be like they'll give you a form, sources, you put two RSAs. Because remember, there's transfer. So as long as you're in the scheme, the PIN number is from PenCom. So as long as you're in the scheme and you have a PIN number, that's all PenCom needs. That PIN number has the amount. That's really what they need. And it's not, the PFAs don't have the money. The PFCs have the money. So once your PFA says, okay, yeah, you might be two different PFAs, but the same PFC. I don't think it's a problem. I don't think it's a problem, sir. Sammy, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Super.
But, I don't think question number 2 has been answered.
Which one?
Can one combine this?
Yes, I said yes. The guideline says married couples.
The NHF, right? No, he's talking about the NHF.
Oh, and that's a different. So I can't speak on that. I know PenCom. I would say this, right? Nothing stops you from combining it. Yeah.
Any loan, any mortgage loan, as long as the loan is a mortgage loan, whether from the conventional banks that we know, the GT banks of this world, or the primary mortgage institutions who are set up to do NHF, as long as it's called a mortgage loan and is going to buy residential property, you can access this 25% for it.
Okay. Is that a bit clear?
The mortgage lender has to be licensed by CBN.
That's a bit clearer now.
And you'll provide the list of mortgage lenders on the website. It also says that.
That's what it says.
To be on the website.
So it's a bit clearer for you, right?
Okay, yeah, clear.
Super.
Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome, sir. Let me get Twitter in Gomi, OMI. How are you doing?
Okay, good evening, Mr. Kalu.
Good evening. How's your day going?
Everyone. Yeah, my specific question has actually been asked by the previous speaker. Then I also want to clarify, because I have not seen an instance where a CFO, so to speak, have been issued jointly to a couple. It is either Mr. Kalu Aja, I have never seen where they issue Mr. and Mrs., if you get the point. So I really don't know how that one will pan out. If it is possible for us to have a joint contributory scheme as a couple, and the issuance of a CFO, which actually confirms the ownership of the property.
Madi will answer better, but I know when I bought a house. Yeah, Madi will answer better. I know I've seen it before, but let Madi answer.
Can I also chip in here? Because what you're applying for is your money. It is not that PenCom wants to be co-owner of the house with you. You're applying to get your money based on the fact that you have a mortgage in play. As long as the mortgage belongs to one of the two of you, it shouldn't be an issue. Remember that PenCom's issue here is not whether the house or not. It is your money. I think we should always remember this fact.
where he's going to is the route of title. So when you issue as a developer, we can, since there's a joint mortgage, we can also issue joint offer letter. I can come and say, Mr. and Mrs. Maji are the owners of this house. And it is documentation that you now take to the government to say, okay, issue, in most cases, the CFO is one for the entire estate. So if you are going for a developer, most likely the CFO is one. So if you are going, what you are going to register is the deed of sublease. And you can't register the deed of sublease in the name of two individuals. There's no, I don't think, maybe we have lawyers here, but I don't think it's technically impossible. We have done it before. You just go and register a deed of sublease. When you go to the site, you see the property is owned by two.
Okay.
It's not
so that works then. Does that answer your question, OMI?
Exactly. Thank you very much.
You don't write, normally when you want to apply for CFO, you don't normally do joint applications for land, where you go and apply to government and you get CFO land. And I think even that one, if you do, they will give you the two names, but just typically everybody does his own application and then you go and submit. But in this case, it's different.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. That's why you guys are the technical team on the spaces today. Let me get Fumi Oyeleye.
Yes, thank you very much. Mine is two questions in one. And the question is, what is the penalty for employers who refuse to fulfill their own end of the bargain? For instance, I understand that there are some states that collect or that deduct pension from their workers, yet they don't remit. So if state governments can do that, then what is the future in this whole thing? So that's my question.
Yeah, so that's a separate topic, but PenCom has very, very clear guidelines on penalties and consequence action for employers that do not contribute. And it's even worse if you actually collect the deductions but do not remit. Very clear. There are whistleblowing guidance with PenCom, and you can actually report your employer. Remember, it's your money. And it's a law. It's not, it's a law. It's like paying you a salary. But salary, the employer can even say, but this is a law of the federation that says that once you work for the federal or for the private, more than 5 employees, you are mandated to pay that extra 10%. You only have to contribute 8%. So my answer to you is just to say, if you have proof that your salary has been deducted and not remitted, just go to the nearest pension office and do a report there. Or go to your PFA, go to the pension office and do a report. They will take it from there. And I even know that they used to hire consultants to go out and find employees and actually, find them. So it's very, very clear process. It's a big offense to deduct and not remit. Also an offense to not even do the scheme to start with. So I will just say, take action. It's your money, right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I got that. I know it could be easy to take on the private companies, but what about in this case when it is the state government?
The states are not. So let me just quickly. States are not technically under the Pension Reform Act of 2014 because they have to join. Pensions, as I understand it, is on the concurrent list, right? So federal passed this law. This law is for federal and private. States have to join. So if your state passes its law, right, then they join and they can create their own scheme however they want, right? So PenCom has guidelines for states. States can copy the PenCom Act and implement it. But the problem with states is that who are you reporting to? Because it's the state that is the guy not paying you. So it's like you're reporting to the person that is committing the offense. I hear you, but it's harder with states. State is a tough cookie. Because who are you reporting to? That's the problem. Does that make sense, sir?
That's true.
Yeah, because Well, you can't report them to the federal government because they are separate from the federal government, and the state is the one not paying you. But I would still report, or I don't know what to do, but that's where you find yourself. But I would say if you have it, take the advantage of it and also contribute. It's a tax-free savings. You can reduce your taxes. Use that part of it, and hopefully, use that part of it. You get a life cover. I don't know if they put a life cover for you as well, but I hear you, bro. But it's a tough one. All right, thanks for me.
All right.
You're very welcome. Let me get Chidima in there. Chidima, how you doing?
Hi, Chidima Enemo.
Enemo, I don't want to spoil it. So how you doing today? What's up?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Carlo, and thanks to all the speakers. When I read this news yesterday, I was excited. But my question is this: unfortunately, the news came late. We already made the equity, the down payment, and we have a mortgage running.
Yeah.
Now, my question is, can I get the 25% to offset the part of the mortgage? Is it allowed, or it just have to be the equity down payment?
No, I think for now, that question will be answered when the actual guidelines come out. Let's wait for the actual guidelines to be out. Then we'll see if you can do down payment or reduce the actual loan itself. For now, they're just saying you can do it, right? But I'm sure when the guidelines come, we'll read and see what you can literally do. Yeah, that's what I'll say. Matt, I don't know if you have any. Matt, did you have any updates on that? Chidima, did you hear me? Chidima?
Sorry, it seems like it's breaking. The line is breaking.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay.
So did you get my the actual guidelines aren't out yet? I'm sure when we get the actual guidelines, we can be specific as to where that 25 can go to. If it's only to pay to the mortgage lender, or if you can pay down, or if you can pay an existing, we will then know precisely what will happen. But I'm sure down the line, down the road, it will be available. There's no way it won't be available to pay down. It's just for now. This is the easiest to do for now. Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. Okay, let's get. I've got. Where did he go? Okay, I think it's dropped off. So Tunji, when do you think you'll see the effect? I mean, they are saying that Tunji, your folks need 5 months before they can. If I join micro scheme, I have 5 months before I can draw down. Is that it?
So yes. So you want to look at it from the perspective of the regulators are keen to make sure that you have enough in your savings account. I mean, the spirit of the regulator is always around making sure that your money is there when you retire. Everything that they've done, you can see the way they create guidelines for platforms you can invest in, why they've been reluctant to even release these guidelines. Is always that, when you do retire, make sure that your money is there and there's money to pay for you. There's also another thing that a lot of people do not understand about micro pensions. And this is it. So there is a minimum that you must have in your retirement savings account by the time you retire. Now, there is a fund within the industry that if for some reason you are not able to make it to that point, the PFA is supposed to make it up to, I think it's 400K. I'll have to confirm that.
Okay.
So there is a industry concern to at least make sure that there is money in people's RSA accounts. So for instance, you've not been able to even save anything yet. You've not even saved up to that 400 and you want to make a withdrawal. It just doesn't make any sense. But I do know that there will be thought back and forth on this timeline. I think it should either be time or amount invested as against just being timeline.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the beginning of, we're just excited to have this first step.
Yeah.
It's the first of many.
Those guidelines keep on coming. If I know PenCom, they're always very, very receptive to. If you tell them this is not working, they always go back and they always bring out something that is very, very, they listen. That's what I'm trying to say. PenCom always listens. So commendable. Let's see how it goes. Yeah, they keep on dropping off. All right, guys. So we've been here for give or take about I'll say an hour, 30 minutes. Great discussion. It's just supposed to be informative. I've got Tunji Andrews here from Awaba. Is that the correct name? Awaba, right? Awaba. That's Awaba, right?
Yes,
Awaba.
Awaba.
Is that okay?
Pidgin English. Always think Pidgin English.
Always think Pidgin. Okay.
Our money, our.
Oh, our bar, as in Benin, as in our bread. Oh, why did I always think it was a Ghanaian word? Yeah.
Our kudi, yes, exactly.
I always thought it was like a Ghanaian word, like welcome, or Ghana, awaba.
I know.
Oh, our bread. Tunji, man, you should have explained this thing now. Okay, cool. I get that. So yeah, Tunji from Awaba, and I mean, he is a micro pensions. Is that the right word? A micro pensions aggregator, or what are you? Micro pensions?
Yes. Basically, a shared service provider for micro pensions.
Excellent. I also have Abdul Malik Mahdi. He's the CEO of Modern Shelter. Tunji, you want to speak to him after the event? I mean, great guy. So you guys should get together. Let's see what we can do. This has been, I just wanted to get this out there. This was just 1 day spaces, and it's just out there for folks that can talk. I have a lot of text here, guys. Most of these questions you're asking, they are all going to be in this recording, right? And most of these questions really can't answer because we do not have the final guidelines. Most of the questions I'm asking have more to do with pension guidelines, and I didn't get my money when I retired. This have to do with like going to your PFA, easy fixes, but might not be just for this topic. So I would say try to talk to your PFAs about most of these questions you're sending to me on DM. Some I can't answer because I want to make sure that the guidelines are out before we then start to give an answer. But guys, let's start to round this down. Mahdi, I don't know if you're here. I want to just give your closing remarks, same thing with Tunji. Then we can just go out and wait for this actual guidelines and start kicking. Yeah, go for it, sir.
I want to echo in terms of Chidema. I think yes, we spoke very passionately about wanting to get a house and going out to get a house that she got her plot according to her plot.
That was Jay. I think that was Jay.
She got the loan from her employer. She did all these things.
Oh yeah, that was Jay.
Yeah, I want to urge young people out there, even older people. Once you know how much you have, that you're 25%. The next thing you need to do is to know what kind of house you can buy with it, and just buy it. It's your money. Buy a house, whatever type of house, And if good for you, there are some organizations that their pensions are really. Somebody that worked just 5 years in NDIC and they had nearly 40 million. So if you're in those kind of organizations that have a lot of pensions, it is very good news for you. Use it, get your house. If you don't have a lot, you still have something out there that you can buy with this money. Continue to engage with your PFAs, continue to engage with your realtors, continue to engage with your bankers, your lawyers, make very sound decisions, because once you take out this 25% and, you go and buy from a very bad developer, because even though the title is good, the houses will be built, if the quality is not enduring, then you end up with a very bad product over the next 10, 15 years of your life, and then it's a bad investment. So very big kudos to everyone involved, PenCom. They've done well, and we look forward to the implementation.
Excellent. Great. Excellent comments. Great job there. Tunji, what about you?
So for me, it's a personal prophecy for me, because I've always felt, and this is the reason why I started this whole pension conversation. I've always believed that the money to fix Africa is in Africa, and if we have 11 plus trillion just sitting there doing nothing, where they could, not really sitting down doing nothing, but I feel that it could be doing a lot more to the economy as a whole.
Yeah.
And, I think the regulator has taken a very bold step, because I'm not sure how much resistance this must have been for them to finally get to this point.
Yeah.
But they've done it, and this is something we should applaud them for. But, for everyone that is still waiting on the sidelines, this is, and that for you to save up to even 5 million in your RSA takes time, whatever kind of job you have. So if you do not start now, there will be a time when you wish you started 7 years ago, because the things that will be available and the opportunities that will be available to you at that time would mean that you need to have an RSA before you can even get access to those things. So please, if you've not started, start thinking about it. There's the private pensions, which is micro pensions, but if your organization has one, please get them to enroll you and start saving today.
Great. I love that. Guys, thanks so much. I mean, this is like, we get excited, but really, if you break it down to the nuts and bolts, to the boring side of it, right? If you were a young person and getting a home, it does two things. Number one, it takes away the increase in rent, especially if you live in Lagos. If you own your own home, at least you've locked in rent, right? You can stay in your own home. You're not paying increased rent annually. If you leave Lagos, you can sell or you can rent out. But most importantly, you are building equity. And this today is just a pathway, making it easier for you. I mean, you've worked, you have this pension or this contribution to an account that is tax-free or tax deferred that you can tap into and then start to contribute. I also look at the bigger picture, right? The economy would get more injection into the real estate sector. So more jobs are being created. There's more stability being created. You can then see more mortgage bankers then coming more, allocating more capital towards long-term investing. This is long-term investing, which is the real mortgage that we're talking about. Not a bank loan that is called a mortgage, but this is the real long-term mortgage, 20-25 years. I also would like to see the developers talk about rent to own. I think that's just the real pathway to home ownership in Nigeria for young people. Give them the loan, they get a house, they do rent to own, so they pay their rent, but that rent has an equity portion and they are buying down that home for about 20-25 years, and then it's theirs, and then they can go. So I like this always. This is good job, federal government, good job, PenCom. Let's just hope we can keep this tempo going and turn this into job creation. That's really what it is. Jobs. All right, guys, on that note, we're going to just sign out. My name is Kalu Aja. Once again, this has been Twitter Money Spaces with you guys. Do check out my book, Let's Talk About Your Money book, listed there on the pinned post. I'll see you guys next time. New topic, talk about your money. Love you guys. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye.